Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 10th voting of the Environment and Transportation Committee. I am your friendly chairman, Kumar Barve. It is March 12th. I'm joined by Dana Stein, our vice chair, and I believe all but two of the members of our committee. So let's start with the two withdrawn bills, and we'll do a roll call. So the motion on House Bill 1082 and 1174 is unfavorable, withdrawn by sponsors. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion's unfavorable. Trish, do a roll call so that we do a, make sure.
Vice Chair Stein,
Yes.
Holmes,
Yes.
Learman,
Yes.
Frazier Hidalgo,
Yes.
Otto,
Yes.
Jacobs,
Yes.
Weibel,
Yep.
Ampray,
Yes.
Silberti is excused, Wells,
Yes.
Love,
Yes.
Ruth.
Yes.
Oh, she is there, okay.
Yep,
Stewart,
there. Vaughn? Is Vaughn with us?
no, I don't see him in there.
Ha, okay, we caught one. All right,
Yeah, I thought there was one other.
yeah,
Absent. Lehman,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Trassa,
Yes.
Parrott,
Yes.
Boyce,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Jalisi, absent. Anderton,
Yes.
Gilchrist.
oh.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. All right,
Oh, he's there, okay.
he's there.
Healy
Yes.
and Chairman.
And the chairman votes yes. So we have Siliberti as medical, is excused medically, and we're also missing Vaughn Stewart and Jay Delisi right now, correct?
Yes, I'll text them.
Okay, great. All right, let's start with House Bill 63. Brooke.
Let me unmute. Okay. House Bill 63. This was the subcommittee's recommendation is unfavorable. This is a bill to prohibit the state from using any appropriation for a magnetic levitation transportation system. Currently, the state uses no money, and there are no plans to appropriate funding for a maglev system. However, we determined that this bill would actually have no effect, because if we pass a bill this year that prohibits funding, and then we were to pass a funding bill next year, that new funding bill would supersede any previous law. So the subcommittee voted it unfavorable.
Is there a second for the,
Sorry, move unfavorable.
okay, any discussion on the bill before we vote?
Can I?
Yeah, Doug Lehman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Delegate Learman, Chair Learman, this is not the ombudsman bill, is it?
This is not the ombudsman bill. That's
Okay.
not on the vote list. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. The motion is an unfavorable motion. All those in favor of the unfavorable signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who's opposed to the bill?
I am.
Okay, so Lehman,
Can I ask a question first? Do you
Well-
have significant unfavorable votes? Mr.
yeah, you can vote against it.
Thank you.
Okay, Lehman, Harrison, Healy, Holmes. Okay. Motion unfavorable. House Bill 204.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The recommendation is favorable with amendments. As amended, this bill establishes various tracking and reporting requirements for MDE and DNR with respect to the enforcement of environmental and natural resource laws. Among other things, MDE must maintain specified complaint data and develop and maintain a website with specified information and data relating to the enforcement of environmental laws. The bill also requires DNR to submit an annual report with specified data regarding the enforcement of natural resources and conservation laws. Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 limits the environmental reporting requirements to certain water and air quality programs in MDE that will be tracked under the department's environmental tracking system or a comparable database, and clarifies definitions. Amendment number 3 clarifies the environmental reporting categories for legal settlements, complaints, and inspections, and clarifies the information that must be published on MDE's website under those categories. Amendments number 4 and 5 clarify the environmental reporting category for enforcement actions and clarifies the information that must be published under this category. The last amendment pertains to DNR. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask Delegate Boyce to present that amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, Mr. Chair. So the committee took up one last amendment that addresses DNR, their concern, which delays the requirement that DNR report aggregated conviction data by 1 year, beginning with the report due by September, on or before September 30th, 2023. They would be required to submit all other data.
So with that, Mr. Chairman, we move the amendments.
Is there a second? Oh, somebody has to second it.
Second.
Any discussion on the amendments or questions? Okay. We'll vote on the amendments. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes seem to have it. The ayes have it. The bill's before us is amended. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the bill or debate on the bill?
Just a question. I see that it's a report, but why is
actually,
it-
Jay had his hand up first,
Oh, sorry, Mr. Chairman.
and then you. Okay, so yeah, go ahead, Jay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In some of my notes, I had several notes on the bill, but I got fiscal note issues. So did the amendments do anything with the fiscal note?
They help with fiscal note. They don't eliminate it entirely.
The chair of the Appropriations Committee thought it was low enough that it wasn't a problem.
Thank you.
Delegate Parrott.
Thank you. I see this as mandating reporting, but why is this necessary? What makes it necessary this year as opposed to previous years?
Well, I'll start, and maybe if I can ask the sponsor to follow up. In an effort to, with respect to reporting, it was a different bill, but was undertaken last year, which did not pass. And so this reflects, I think, the sentiment for a number of years that there needs to be some centralized reporting with respect to these issues. So, and Delegate Learman, if you want to add to that.
Sure. I'll just say DNR and MDE have had, staffing shortages over the years. And as a result, they have not been fulfilling sort of the mandate of inspections and enforcement actions that I think all of us expect to happen when we pass environmental laws. And so there's also a lack of transparency about what inspections are actually happening. And so this bill is, it's actually a much simpler version of a bill that was introduced last year. We totally retooled it working with MDE and DNR. And so this is just about maintaining a public with different information, with inspection, complaint, and other compliance information so that the public can see what is actually happening and don't always have to just file PIA after PIA. And MD is already starting to work on something like this, which is why, so we've just been working with them on this, but a lot of other states already do something even more robust than this, because this kind of information is really interesting to the public generally. To organizations like Chesapeake Bay Foundation and others, water keepers, who are trying to all work together with MDE and DNR to protect our resources.
Thank you. Do you know if MOSHA does something like this also? Like, is this unique to this? Or are other agencies doing something similar?
MOSH is so small, I doubt they do anything like this. I think they have like one person. But I think I don't know what every agency does, but I think, the environmental agencies are particularly They take complaints from the public, they investigate things on their own, do proactive. They, there are a lot of interactions and enforcement actions and just ongoing compliance investigations that happen from our environmental agencies that don't necessarily happen, with the exception of the Department of Labor and most, like you said, for other agencies necessarily, or in the same way. So, there are also a number of groups that also do the same kind of work that the environmental folks do. So like we have, Chesapeake Bay Foundation and the Water Keepers and Chesapeake Lawyers Alliance. They all are doing work with the agencies because all of their goals is to enforce our clean water laws, right? And so they all work together, and having this information public will make that partnership easier and more transparent.
Okay.
Okay, also with a question, Delegate Otto and then Delegate Weigel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill came in, if complaints were filed, they were going to be posted. Was that taken out? And it'll be when things are, violations are cited, or that there's some relevance of guilt or something?
No, it's still alleged complaints, but there's no identifying information about who it's against. So the industry groups who had concerns sort of didn't understand the bill. And after we worked with them for a while to help them see what was actually going to be posted, they withdrew their opposition.
All right, that was my concern of, convicting somebody before they were found guilty or even an inspection. And
Yep, and we're not doing that.
that
in this
was a
bill.
big concern of what the legislation did originally. But
Right, but we're not doing that in this bill.
okay, thank you.
Sure.
Weigel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So that was along the lines of my question. There was a lot of opposition with the fear of guilty until proven innocent. And so National Waste and Recycling, Maryland Builders, Maryland Municipal Stormwater Associations, all that. So you're saying all that opposition went away?
So we worked with Lori. She understands what is actually going to be posted now and withdrew her opposition. And then Pam Metz, Case Meyer, and Lisa Harris Jones were representing other groups, and we worked with them. They had an amendment, and we took that amendment, and they withdrew their opposition. So, yep.
So no one's opposed to the bill now?
I don't know that, but we worked with all the groups who, we worked with the groups that I just named. I don't have the list of opponents in front of me, but we worked with the industry groups who expressed concern to make sure that they understood that they took their amendments or explained the bill so that they understood their clients would not be implicated in any way.
And I can confirm that several.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, and I can confirm that several of the leading opponents notified me saying that they no longer oppose the bill.
Thanks.
All right, thanks.
Hey, you didn't expect that, did you?
No, but I'm going to vote no just to be safe, just so there's no.
Okay. Could you turn a light on, Will? You're sort of a character there. I mean,
The problem, let me close the blind. I think unfortunately different lighting.
Okay, all right. Well, we're all friends here, Anyway, okay. Any further questions or discussions before we go to a vote?
He needs a vanity light.
Yeah, that's what he needs. Okay.
I
Motion
don't want to
is
see
safe.
my face anyhow.
Yeah. Did we pass the amendments, right?
Yes.
And the bill's been seconded. All those in favor of the favorable motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Will Weigel, and who else is opposed? Neil Parrott, Jay Jacobs, Charles Otto. Okay, anybody else?
Jerry.
Okay. Yikes. Okay.
Jerry and Anderton, Mr. Chair.
All right. Well,
and to be clear, I'm here now. Delegate Stewart is here.
Okay.
To be clear, also, there is a Republican Senate cross like this, the cross-file, one of the cross-file senators is a Republican, Jack Bailey. So
Okay, so.
You people are killing us.
So Vaughn Stewart is
I get
here.
pleasure.
What about Jay Jalisi is still gone and Barry Soliberti is medically excused, correct?
Yes,
So do
yes.
we have enough, we have enough votes to pass the bill?
Well, it was it Clark and Anderton you added at the end there? I didn't hear
Yeah.
because everyone was talking.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it was 17-5 then.
okay. All righty then. House Bill 264.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The recommendation is favorable to amendments. As amended, this bill requires certain generators of large quantities of food residuals to separate the food residuals from other solid waste and ensure that the food residuals are diverted from final disposal in a refuse disposal system as specified. Amendment number 1 makes technical changes. Amendment number 2 excludes restaurants and the aggregate of school buildings in a local school system from the bill, clarifies that the food waste diversion requirements only apply to a person when there is a facility that is willing to enter into a contract to accept and process food waste, and the facility has the capacity and is willing to accept all of the person's food waste, clarifies that MDE may grant a waiver for undue hardship when the cost of diverting food waste from a refuse disposal system is more than 10% more expensive than the cost of disposal, and strikes language that would have required a report on state properties that are suitable for use as organics recycling facilities. Move the amendments.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on the amendments? Okay, well, let's vote on the amendments. Those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes seem to have it. The ayes have it. The bill's before us is amended. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on the bill as amended? No? Okay, we'll vote.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Delegate Parrott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just looking at this one, I like the idea of giving like the carrot rather than the stick. So I'm gonna have to vote no because this is just a stick.
Okay. You remember how in the old cartoons when we were little kids, in the pile of junk, there was always like a ratty little carrot on the pile? Remember that? That image just popped into my head from like a Bugs Bunny. Anyway, okay. All those in favor of the bill signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Who's opposed? Okay, so let me, Parrott, Wyville, Otto, Jacobs, Jerry, where are you? Are you opposed? Jerry is opposed and Carl is opposed. So, okay.
Mr. Chair, if I could explain my vote.
Sure.
I like sticks.
Okay. All righty then.
Well, the carrot was at the end of the stick, so on the cartoon.
Oh, that's right. And that often
Hanging down in front of the poor little animal. Deceptive, all kind of things.
That's right. Okay.
I think it was House and Pfeffer.
House Bill 703. Brooke, was that yours?
Yep, that's me. House Bill 703 received an unfavorable recommendation from the subcommittee. This is Delegate Ivey had 2 bills related to 270 and 495. This is one of them. This is a bill that simply prohibits adding any new lanes ever to 270 and 495. There was concern about, what 270 actually goes down in some points and then goes back up. So we might want to even, and that we couldn't add a BRT lane to either of these highways if we pass this bill. So move unfavorable.
Is there a second?
Second.
Speaking as a delegate who represents Gaithersburg and Rockville, through which I-270 goes, against the bill. I mean, come on. Okay. Any discussion on House Bill 703? Well, let's do a roll call because I just want to make sure everybody is here who should be here. Okay, Trish? Motion unfavorable, roll call.
Vice Chair Stein,
Yes.
Holmes,
Yes.
Learman,
Yes.
Fraser Hidalgo,
Yes.
Otto,
Yes.
Jacobs,
Yes.
Weibel,
Yes.
and Prey.
Yes.
Siliberti, still gone. Wells,
Yes. Yes.
Love,
Yes.
Ruth,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Lehman,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Trassa,
Yes.
Parrot,
Yes.
Boyce,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Jalisi,
Absent.
Anderton,
Yep.
Gilchrist,
Yes.
Healy.
Yes.
And chairman votes yes. Okay, House Bill, and the unfavorable motion carries. House Bill 704.
House Bill 704, the subcommittee voted unfavorable. This is Delegate Ivy's bill that would prohibit any person from constructing a magnetic levitation transportation system within 2 miles of a protected property. But the real concern was that the bill prohibits a state, regional, or local government unit from approving a proposal for construction or approving condemnation of property for a maglev within 2 miles. So I think concern from my conversations with people that this impinged on local government control of its land. So the subcommittee moved unfavorable. Move unfavorable.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on House Bill 704? Okay, we'll do a voice vote. All those in favor of the unfavorable motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who's opposed, please raise your hand. So we have Lehman, Harrison, Healy, and I assume Holmes, right? I don't see you on the, Marvin, you
Yeah.
voting against the, oh, all right.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, motion unfavorable carries then. House Bill 991, Delegate Gilchrist.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 991 concerns forest mitigation banks. Was submitted because of the Attorney General's opinion last fall. As amended, the bill establishes the uses of qualified conservation in a forest mitigation bank as a standard for meeting reforestation requirements under the Forest Conservation Act. The amendments, Mr. Chairman, First Amendment limits the mitigation credit for protected forest to 1/2 of the banked area. That's the 2-for-1 portion. Second Amendment reconstitutes the requirement that the Hughes Center conduct a forest study. Thirdly, provide for retroactive effect to safeguard existing projects. And fourth, state the intent to review the study once it's done and consider necessary changes to the Forest Conservation Act. Those are the amendments, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second for the amendment?
Second.
I'm going to assume that the hands raised, are the hands raised for the amendments or for the bill itself? Oh, okay. Delegate Lehman, you want to speak on the amendments?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
And thank you, Chair Gilchrist. I am embarrassed to admit that I missed the subcommittee meeting yesterday and the discussion of the amendments. So I just wanted to have a little bit better sense. I thank you for the explanation of the timing, whether you're describing kind of either you said study, but is there a look back component at some point? And how were the amendments generated? Was this sort of a, who had a hand? Was it Park and Planning? Was it a bunch of, different parties? Where did the amendments come from?
Well, if you think of the amendments in two separate portions, I think you're asking about both. One portion reconstitutes the study, which was passed in 2019,
Okay.
and puts the language back in to show that we want the study done. Okay, so that's part of the amendments. The other main part is to take the the bill and to make it what we've been doing for 20 plus years in administering the program. And there were a number of people who took a role in that, primarily the Department of Natural Resources, because they administer the program. Also, significantly, the Park and Planning Commission, Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission, MACO had a role, MBIA had a role. There were a number of very interested parties that all looked at it, but it's primarily DNR's amendments with Park and Planning.
Okay, that's very helpful. I have one other question about preemption. Is there any issue with Anne Arundel or any other county wanting to take a different approach then to forest conservation? I know that's what prompted the question of the Attorney General about whether, you know, the uneven way in which my understanding is that this law has sort of been interpreted across the state of Maryland. What would this do for, you know, Anne Arundel or any other county that wants to go a different way?
The way the Forest Conservation Act is written, the state has minimum requirements. Counties may enact stricter requirements. It's of course a very complex portion of the code, and each county has its own take on it, but there are minimum state standards.
So do you know, and if there's follow-up required, that's fine, but do you know if Anne Arundel could, for example, do away with mitigation banking altogether, and you know, go in a different direction with replanting?
Yes, they could.
I might ask Patrick to chime in here, because I think I know the answer, but I'm not certain.
I don't believe all counties have mitigation banking. It's an option for them, but they don't have to do it. But like Delegate Gilchrist said, the state law sets out the minimum. What the Attorney General's letter or opinion said took out one aspect of the state's minimum.
So basically, a county can have a stricter standard if it wishes to.
They can have a stricter standard. Before the opinion, you could use forest preservation, forest conservation as on a 2-to-1 basis as to meet your afforestation or reforestation requirements. The Attorney General's opinion said, no, you can't. And that was going to the state program, which filters down to all the locals. But the locals don't have to do forest mitigation banking if they don't want to.
Okay, thank you. That helps, thank you.
Okay, that was on the amendment. Does anybody wish to speak on the amendment? Delegate Love.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the amendment, I don't see it, but I want to make sure I'm not missing it. Is there any funding for the study in the amendment?
That is not specifically addressed in the amendment. We have spoken to, the chair spoke to the president of the Hughes board, and they feel confident that they are nearing the ability to do it and that they will be able to complete the study. The language we put in shows that we do want it done.
Okay, because actually that was my second question, which is whether someone has spoken to the Hughes Center. So I understand the chair spoke to former Senator Mac Middleton. The last time former Senator Middleton spoke to us, we were told, I mean, there's a huge long background to this, that they couldn't do it for a very long time after we passed it because there were challenges with the scope of it. There was challenges with the timing of it. There was challenges with the funding of it because we didn't fund them. Then the Hughes Center was able to scrap together some money of their own, put together an RFP, and the only entity that came back in answer to that RFP said, we can't do a quality job based on the money. So if I'm hearing you correctly, the Hughes Center is now saying they have more money so that they can actually complete this study?
I mean, they said they had 80,000. Mac told me he had $80,000 to begin the study, and he felt that they were going to complete it by when, Jim? I can't remember exactly, but I mean, he made it sound like they were going to be able to do it in a year or so.
Yeah.
Well, the $80,000 is the same that they had been able to cobble together before, and that's what they put out the RFP on. And it was that amount of money that the only one who responded to the RFP said, we can't do a quality study with everything that you want with that amount of money. So my biggest concern, well, I have a concern about the bill with the amendment, but my biggest concern here is that we're tying a major policy decision, to this study, which I appreciate and I want, but in a platform where they can't actually do the study.
What the language in the amendment, just as way of background, and Delegate, I think you, sounds like you know a little bit more about this than me, actually. But it was in 2019, we passed the bill asking for the study.
Right.
It asked for the study by the end of 2019. That was not able to be done. They are still working on getting it done. And what we have, as I said, the chair did talk to the Hughes Center. They feel that they can complete it in the next year. What we have done with this language is to give them 2 years and show that we do want to have it done.
I understand that, but I have to admit I am absolutely baffled because the Hughes Center has told us, I mean, exactly what I laid out for you. And originally they said they'd get it done by the end of 19, and then they said they'd get it done by the end of 2020. But when we dug deeper as to why it wasn't getting done, that's what they told us. So I don't understand now. I mean, I believe you that Senator Middleton told you this, but I just don't understand. It doesn't make sense given the information that we've been given from them before.
You know, let me just ask this question. I mean, the fact that we're passing this law and, we often pass laws that mandate actions, and I have to confess, I'm not as diligent all the time in making sure money is put in the budget for these things, and maybe I ought to be actually. But I've never, this was the first time I'd ever spoken to him and tried to light a fire underneath him. We're going to pass a law. It's going to be a mandate under the law, and the governor is going to have to put money in the budget, and I'm going to have to complain if he doesn't, I suppose. I mean, and I have to confess, I guess I haven't been as diligent about this as I should have in the past, but,
Okay, I mean, I've said my concern, and we passed this 2 years ago, and nothing happened, and so I'm not
this
going to be different now.
well, Delegate Ruth, Delegate Stein, and then whoever else wants to talk. This is on the amendments, so I guess the amendments are the most important thing in the bill. But go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I was going to speak on the bill.
Oh, okay. Well, then keep your hand up, and I'll go to Delegate Stein.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess, as Delegate Gilchrist said, the amendments give the center 2 years to do the study. So, Delegate Love, I hear your concern about the fact that maybe they still don't have enough money to get the study done, but they haven't gotten the study done at the end of this year when they promised they'll have it done. Then we still have another year to, if it is a function of money, to make sure that they do get the necessary appropriation to get the study done.
Okay, Delegate Terraza.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now I'm somewhat baffled because I don't understand. So this amendment actually requires the study to be done?
It's the same language we used in 2019 to get the study, which requires a study to be done.
It does require, well,
In this case, in this time around, we're giving them 2 more years.
But did we get the study?
No, we did not. And we're still working on that, and we're putting it in this bill because we do want to reiterate that we do want this study done. And I think we all, I mean, what I gather through this process is that we want to get this study done. That is why this language is in the bill.
Well, I mean, let me say this. I mean, I want to revisit this issue after the study's done. I mean, I think the amendment language says that as well, but.
But
Okay.
I guess what I'm trying to clarify is it was required to be, I can't even remember if I was here on this committee in 2019. I don't think so, but so the committee required them to do a study in 2019 with this same language, and it wasn't done. And that was because they didn't have enough money. And we're using the same language to require them to do a study, and they still have the same amount of money.
Well, let me say what we heard most recently. They are also waiting on some technical issues, some studies about how to do the work. It's not all a money situation.
Could you repeat that, because you cut out a little bit there, Jim?
Oh, yes, Mr. Chairman. We received an email that said that they are waiting on some technical information. So it's not entirely a money problem. It's an issue of getting the study done right. They are waiting for more information.
But do they need less money to do the study now?
Do they need less money? No.
No, they didn't indicate.
I'm not sure. I don't think I understand your question.
Well, I thought from Delegate Love, the issue was that they didn't, I understand there's an additional issue now, but my understanding is that they told us that they didn't have enough money to do the study, and they have the same amount of money now. So I don't know anything about the background on this issue, but it seems to me if they have the same amount of, like, I'm just trying to use like basic logic, is that if it's the same amount of money, right, without knowing anything about this issue, I'm just using it like, you have the same amount of money, it wasn't enough before, they have the same amount of money again, unless they need less money now, it seems like it would still not be enough money.
I mean, I could just reiterate that the chairman just spoke with the president of the board, and they feel confident that they can do it in the next year.
Okay, let's go to David Fraser Dalgo, Brooke Learman, Ann Healy in that order. DFH.
Thank you. So, and maybe I missed this, but Delegate Gilchrist, do you know, is the predominant reason that the study has not been completed? What is the predominant reason? Is it a financial reason? Is it a funding reason? Or are there other contributing factors? Because I remember talking with you in the hallway about this a couple of days ago, and we didn't get into the detail about it, but is it a funding issue or is it something else? I mean, what is their explanation for not having it done now? Their official explanation?
Well, I have to say, I have not asked them for an official explanation of why it's not done. I mean, the reason this language is in the bill is to show that we do want to get it done.
Right. I'm just curious if there's more than one reason why they haven't done it. That's all.
May I answer that, Mr. Chair? Because I actually do know
Sure.
the answer.
No, well, I'll tell you what, I'll just call upon you after Brooke and Ann. How's that?
Okay, sure.
I'm finished. Thank you.
Yeah, I thought you were. Okay. Brooke?
Well, I was just wondering if we could get a letter from them, or have something in, or if it would be, something in writing that would say that, they are confident and plan to complete this study, and, I don't know. It seems like it might make many members comfortable. I'm not sure if that's a possibility, but I just wanted to put it out there as a potential solution.
I'm going to hold the bill. I'm going to hold the bill. Let's go on to the next bill. We'll deal with this next week.
I guess I don't get to say, huh?
Oh, actually, well, yeah, no, sorry. I truly cut it all off. Sorry.
All right.
Okay, House Bill 1058, Brooke.
Okay, really, I just wanted to get to this bill. No. So the committee voted favorable with amendments on House Bill 1058. The amendments strike, and just to remind everybody that this is a bill that makes several modifications to the public ethics law, returning governing training, notice, and financial disclosure as applies to state and public officials and employees. So the amendments strike ums from the defined term quasi-governmental entity. They apply new training requirements to state officials in office on or after January 19th, 2023, so the next crop. They alter the paperwork that the SEC that the State Ethics Commission, not the SEC, like the federal SEC, the State Ethics Commission must provide to the Joint Ethics Committee if exceptions to recusal requirements are exercised. And the amendments apply certain financial disclosure requirements to statements filed on or after January 1, 2023. Move the amendments.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on the amendments? Ann?
I do. Actually, I'd like to hold this bill because I'd like to do an amendment to clarify that it doesn't change the status of the General Assembly, because we put a lot of work into our system, and I don't want it to have a court interpret this law to make changes to something that we built carefully.
Well, I'll grant your motion to hold the bill, but you and I should talk about that before you craft an amendment like that, okay?
Okay.
Okay, we'll hold the bill. Sorry, bro.
Okay, thanks.
That's it. That's the voting list. So, announcements. Dana.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Environment Subcommittee will be meeting Monday at 4 p.m.
Okay. Delegate Healy.
We're going to try to meet on Monday afternoon at 3:30, but we're still working on that. We only have a couple of bills, but
Okay.
all things considered, Monday afternoon.
Okay, David.
Motor vehicle meets on Monday at 1 o'clock.
Okay, any other subcommittee chairs before I recognize Delegate Lehman? Delegate Lehman. Your hand was up. Oh, okay. All right, well, I am, since a lot of the subcommittees are going to be meeting on Monday, I think it probably makes sense for my leadership group to meet sometime on Monday evening. I think that makes a lot of sense. So when we're, those meetings were like at 4 and everything. How about if we try for 5:30 on Monday? Does that sound good with the subcommittee chairs?
Sure.
I don't see any objections, so I guess that's a yes. So, okay, so meeting adjourned. Have fun this weekend. See you soon. Take care.